here's the deal. The time has come. I don't think any more of this on one end or on two end is going to solve anything. And I'm sick of sitting in quarantine. I've been here for longer than I care to even imagine or remember. And the time has come. Now, more than ever. We just got to get right to it. I think now is the time where it's every man for themselves, period. That's what we have to do. I'm convinced of it, man. For the last, 17 hours, all I've thought about is how prepared am I? How ready am I? Well, that's not completely true. If you take out 4 hours of the Tiger King, then every other time I have been thinking about that it's let's go to it. It's go time, man. I got all my stuff ready to go. I got all my different kit levels. I got all my salter packs, my go bags, my SATCOM, my nods, my Rambo 1985 starter kit knife. I've got of my energy drinks that go in my outside medical kit because I'm not going to need med because I'm going to do all the slaying. And everything else, man, I'm ready. And I've got my little mules carrying my Wise Food Storage, my Wise company, wisefoodstorage.com. They're out there. My daughters, I've got 4 great daughters. Each one, I've configured a medical kit, a box, and some water that will strap to their backs because they become my mules. And then my glorious fiance, Jonna, man, she's got full kit on for sure. We got all her stuff ready to go. She's also going to act as comms. She's also going to act as, she basically is going to do infield cooking. She's going to also act as the medic. She's going to act as, she's going to have to do some close quarters with me. She's going to have to manage the kids. She's going to pretty much do what she's been doing inside this house, but out as we go start slaying everybody so we can get to the last man standing and his family. My wonderful family. That's the way it'll be, right? Because it's time. It is time for every man for himself. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're going, whoa, Rut. This is contradicts everything that you've been putting out for essentially the last 15 years of your life since you started doing Froglogic. And for all of those who have been gracious enough to pay attention and to jump on board with what we're doing, and how we're doing it and why we're doing it. We appreciate your love and support. Thank you so much. But, to hell with you now because it's every man for themselves. And that's the way it needs to be. I'm convinced, I go to these places. I go to Drudge. I look at the top 25 articles. It's all the world is ending. I go over to CNN and it's the world is ending and it's Trump's fault. I go over to Fox News and it's the world ending and it's the Pelosi's fault. I go over, where are some of the other places I've been going? It's BBC and it's Daily Mail. She makes me read the Daily Mail, which is everybody's fault. Everybody's to blame for the madness. And so, you know what I'm saying? All the trajectory, all the exponential growth charts and all these little what's it called again? Herd immunity and all that nonsense and all the little bing, bing, bong, bongs. Guess what, man? I don't want to wait anymore. I'm tired of it because for the last 17 hours, I got a little spun up and, I started feeling like it was time to get back into the old mindset, to click the dial, to re-engage back with the place that got me here. Because you know what? In my mind, man, wouldn't that be a great testament to all those who have the ability to survive, right? I love that, man. It makes me feel fired up, It makes me think about, the history of us and human beings and our ability to survive in the most extreme environments imaginable, man. I love that, right? Since way back when, the Primal days when we were just starting to walk upright and we checked out our opposable thumbs, and our nose changed and our diaphragm changed a little bit and we got that nice arch in our foot and things started to really change for us, man. You know what I mean? That the prefrontal cortex began to pop out a little bit. That was a big day, right? Because then we could outthink killing everybody. We could outthink devastating everybody around us. We could trick them. We could use tools to kill them. We could steal their fires and steal their women and steal each other and their children and enslave. Man, those were the days. I'm telling you, that's in my opinion the reason why we started to leave all the other species behind, because of that incredible and amazing, wonderful place of that primal existence. Now, really think about it. Think about what it was like before agriculture had been invented, before real tribalism had began to evolve, back where it was like you saw someone's stuff, you let them risk their life against the old saber tooth or whatever it was over there, and you got up on top of the rock that they climbed into their cave, and right before, you made a little sound, they stuck their heads out, you dropped that giant rock on their head, man. Beautiful. Beautiful. You go in, you take their food, you live another 3 days. And I think, that's the way it feels like where we're going, man. And I want to put some of this awesome training to test. I want to see if what I learned in the SEAL teams translates into the zombie apocalypse. Now, guaranteed, we haven't quite finished all the seasons of what's it called, Walking Dead, but we're close. So we've got a lot of the stuff down for the first part of this, right? I've read the wonderful book called 1 Second After. That's a fantastic book that teaches about what we need to do and how we need to prepare for the end. But I like the whole concept that it's survival of the fittest, every man for themselves. I mean, that makes the most sense, right? Because in the essence of that fantastic battle, it's almost Highlander-like, right? Thou shalt be only one. And that there's a certain allure to that. I know ultimately you can't keep a species going if it's just one, so it's kind of stupid to espouse this concept, and but so far as the beginning of this show, I think. But let's get to it. Let's get to the thinking where you start to contemplate. Man, this would be a better idea if the strongest survive, the strongest make it through the coronavirus or whatever next pandemic we have. I guess another rat one poked its little head, right? You're the rat, can't be overshadowed by the bat. So, you know what I mean? They popped up just again, and I'm sure there could be more in the future, or who knows what it could happen. But man, I tell you what, that primal essence of existence, man, that's good stuff right there. And what happens in this wonderful process in our brains where we start to really genuinely consider what it takes to survive, and it's in the real essence, what it takes to resist against all the diseases and the Mother Nature herself and all the natural elements, and what it takes to just stay above ground, food, water, clothing, shelter, the bare essentials, man. And I think, this process of what I've had to experience is debilitating, crushing 30 days of really how long we been in quarantine? Two weeks? 2 weeks. This 14 days has got me to the place where I think it's time. I think it's time that we pit ourselves against one another. That we genuinely see, how much fortitude each individual has, how much my 7-year-old can bring the heat on this sucker right here, or how much my beautiful fiance is willing to take her beautiful SOG tomahawk that I have strapped to the back, a la Prev. Thank you for that. That was a beautiful image in 2002. That tomahawk that is on the back of her kit, when is she going to get to use that? Man, it's just glorious to think about those things, isn't it? And essentially what you could do if once you process and you start, anchoring yourself in this requirement. You start drilling down into, calories per day, right? 2,000 calories per day. We'll call it a gallon of water a day, especially if you're moving. We'll call it, how much food can one person haul for a week at a time versus what types of vehicles will make it. Does everybody need armor? How many rounds are there? How much training? Man, what is it? 10,000 rounds of training and 25,000 rounds of operational munitions per gun. You need 3 guns per platform per person, right? That's essentially what we drilled down. And you need enough batteries to last for something like 5 years, I think it was, right? 5-year battery life. And you need spare parts for each thing too. What else? What are some of the other crazy things? Smart things that I used to think about on a regular basis. But the biggest thing you got to think about if we're going to start to think about this type of thing, where it is mano a mano, where we're sitting there and we're doing draws out in the middle of the street on each other, and we're doing raids on each other in the middle of the night, all wearing balaclavas and sneaking into other people's houses for food and stuff. When do we have to also begin to contemplate as well? And that's our understanding of morality and where that starts, right? Where does it begin? What is the real definitions of good and evil? What are they? What is good? What is evil? And especially, let me back up. It's easy to contemplate what those two things are when there's no pressure to on either one of them. Right? There's no pressure of survival. And as we begin to contemplate starting to squish those things a little bit with the pressure of survival, right? What begins to happen? Right? What begins to happen to the things that prop up good and the things that prop up evil, right? And that's our definition of morality, right? And the pressure on us in all different shapes and sizes, and in this one, the end of the world, right? Coronavirus is the end of the world, I guess, is what I'm reading in a lot of places. A lot of posts, a lot of insinuation that now I need to start to begin to morally flex myself, to become more morally ambiguous, if you will. Right? To begin to peel down the layers of morality to what will best suit me as I canoe somebody in their head, potentially. Right? Is that acceptable? Well, heck yeah, it's acceptable because my children have to eat and I want your vehicle to make it a couple 100 miles and I'm going to take your food source and I need your guns and I need all this and, I need to protect my tribe. Man, down to the last man. Well, wait. Well, the one thing I will know that is if I get attacked again by more than 3 people, there's a good chance I might not make it out. So you know what? I'm going to go recruit other like-minded people. And I'm going to get them on my team, if you will. And then we're going to create a little farming community in whatever compound that we have established at Latin Long XXXXXXXXXXXXX, right? And every one of us, all of us, we have these places out in the hills out there. I think it would be best if we start to bring in some like-minded, capable, able-bodied people that can dig and sow and people that can repair and lift and chop and people that can slaughter animals and breed and pick vegetables and all those people that have strong backs and also are morally flexible as well too because we're going to have to maintain order. Man, and if you talk this out, it seems probably, in rough estimation, that's maybe what happened back, 15 to 35,000 years ago. We don't know the exact time when these tribes started working together. Hey, let's generate this bigger tribe, this collective, this community, and let's farm. And then let's throw up some walls, man. Get these walls and protect what we got on the inside from the hordes of the outside because as those people begin to figure out, hey, man, You're pretty strong. You're pretty level-headed. You don't lose your mind too quickly. Why don't you come in and you and that dude do this, and you and that dude do that, and you and her do this, and man, we start to work through some of these functional things. But again, what always comes to the forefront of the issue within a budding society? Morality, right? And that's a tough one, man. That's a serious tough one. It's a tough one to figure out. What's right, what's wrong? Well, hell, then we can start just implementing some rules, can't we? And some of the rules John and I have discussed around here over quarantine, that is, if you leave your dirty undies on the floor after taking a shower anymore, then you're going to get your hand chopped off. She negated that one. She said, no, that doesn't fly. And I said, all right, then we're going to spray him with a cold hose in the middle of the night at 4 a.m. She says, no, we're not going to do that one either. And I said, come on, get on board. We're moving towards the end. You need to flex your morality a little bit with me. Don't be such don't be the moral police, if you will. But back to civilization, man. But, there are always the hordes out there outside the gates waiting to storm the walls, right? And then sometimes even the people on the inside of the walls were pretty bad themselves and doing raids and stealing and to prop themselves up. And now all of a sudden we understood how to manipulate people a little bit more and a little bit greater masses. And it really comes down to somebody somewhere at some time influencing people about their need to become flexible. Their need to become ambiguous about where the lines are, which separate us from good and evil. Now, man, if you just go back in history and you go all the way back and you start looking at some of these incredible events and how we decided as human beings it would be a good thing to go to war in order to dominate one another, in order to make sure that our kind survives over their kind. Right? That seems sensible. We did that for pretty much, I would assume, probably from the beginning as well, too. Right? Because I think it's virtually impossible for a couple people to kind of step up and become powerful and then not to begin to manipulate that power as to what becomes socially acceptable. Oh, you want to be saved. You want a place to live in peace. You want all this. Well, you're going to have to give me a bunch of your stuff in order to maintain the protection I have, because I figured out the nasties on the outside of the wall, if I brought them in and paid them a little bit of food and water and rice and place to sleep and gave them a sword, and so they said they could beat people down, that'd be a good thing. Man, and that took us, that's taken us a long way through history. Now, you might be a fan of the Peloponnesian War, the Mongolian Horde. I mean, that's an impressive one. Or, Alexander the Great. All these massive campaigns to go out and try and restructure the shape of societies or tribes, small little enclaves of groups of people, and going in and imposing your will or trying to consume their consumables. It kind of has been how it's been working ever since, I think. In particular, look at us, man. But when you start to really begin to break it down and you start to think about, well, wait a minute. Granted, evolution was one thing. But then once we kind of started figuring some things out and we started trying to understand better ways to accomplish things and how to enable greater amounts of people to live together, man, we got some pretty amazing things to come out of it. Particular art, right? You give somebody a sense of freedom or a sense of happiness, a sense of excitement about the world around them, and they start drawing on caves, the sides of caves, and tell the grand stories of the big hunts of all the people, right? Or you start to do things like, you start to look at how things can be built, or you look at a ceiling, and all of a sudden, man, now you decide to spend 14 years painting the ceiling. but it's about what inspires people. And I think the big component of all this and all these ideas of, going to war for what you have and what you in order to survive, it changed. It changed when the human experience began to change. It began to change when we began to recognize that we didn't have to butcher one another, that we didn't have to annihilate each other, and that when we were able to come together and form some type of system of morality, value system, or a system that people can adhere to mutually, that they can agree on, and things began to flourish. I mean, now all of a sudden, instead of fighting for survival, man, you're fighting for a belief. Beliefs are heavy. Now, before I go into that, I just want to give a quick shout out and thank you to our sponsors, man, on it. God bless you guys. We really appreciate it. Just wish you all the best in these tough times. And, even now, man, every day I wake up, have my alpha brain before I start, improves memory focus, especially when I'm, sleeping's a little challenged right now. Got a lot of worry on my head, right? Just like everybody else out there. Stomach gets a little queasy sometimes, and get the gut health, right? If need a little pep, or after I'm working out, thank God I got this beautiful woman. We're working out every day, and I'm starting to get into better shape. I'm doing a ton of yoga, man. That's crazy. But for the first time, I can feel my hips, and then we get a little on it amino acid stuff, get a little creatine. We got all of it, man. And we're just so thankful that Onnit wanted to be a part of the Froglogic podcast, and we're so thankful to be a part of their family. And we just wish everybody at Onnit, everybody who works there, everybody who's a part of the Onnit family, God bless you. Thank you so much. We believe in you, and thank you for believing in us. And next is Wise Company, man. They're experiencing profound shortages right now, but they're working around the clock to produce new product. I'm telling you, I just got off the phone with the CEO the other day, and they are doing everything in their power to stay up with orders. They can't thank everybody enough. He is so proud that he can be providing this product for the people around the world right now, literally getting orders from all around the world. And, I don't want to be an alarmist, but I tell you what, Wise Company provides you with some of the best tasting, longest lasting freeze-dried food there is on the market. And man, I'm a huge fan. They've got these buckets. They've got 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, 1 year things. It's just a wonderful product. It's a wonderful company. And so I just want to say thank you thank you, Wise, for believing in me and for supporting me through this all. I just can't thank you enough. God bless you and all your families and everybody out there who's a supporter of Wise. Thank you. And I wish you all the best. Go over to wisefoodstorage.com. That's wisefoodstorage.com. Put your name in. See if they've got something. Check every day. Put in promo code Froglogic and you get 25% off everything they have. That's promo code Froglogic, 25% off everything they had. Wonderful organization. Thank you so much. Also, if you feel like helping us out at Team Froglogic, we'd love your support. If your kids want to read some great stuff over this break, they can read my Doc Frog anti-bully book, right? Great book we just came out with. Wonderful book that helps young people deal with bully issues. I've got Doc Frog in his PT book doing 12 exercises to help young kids. I've got, where's mine over here? I don't know. I've got my book. If you want to read a book about self-confidence, if your self-confidence is getting hammered right now, please check out that online. If you want a t-shirt, a hat, a shirt, what else we got? We got stickers. We got all kinds of stuff. That's at teamfroglogic.com. And we're working on something super special for everybody. Hopefully, we're going to get close to being done to this thing in the next several weeks. That'll be exciting news to deliver then. But thank you for listening. If you know somebody that's struggling or having a tough time, or you need somebody that might want to get cheered up, just send them a link to the Froglogic podcast. I'm on all podcast platforms. and YouTube. It takes me a few days to get the YouTube up, but they eventually get up. All right. Back to belief, man. Belief. When you begin to think about survival, not in the essence of just eating and keeping your little clan or tribe alive, but more in a more developed sense in terms of societies, grand societies. We're not talking small societies of 3,000, 5,000 people. We're talking about 41 million people or 27 million people or 3 million or 500,000 people all living next to one another. You start to say, all right, well, man, we need to really tighten up more on our belief systems. I think, especially if we're going to keep this order of morality in place. We have to resist the urge to go back to what we once were, man. Long time ago. I'm not talking a few weeks ago, although you could make serious arguments about the 20th century, but I'm talking about a place that helps us moving forward. And it really comes down to our beliefs, because even in our country, right, we were willing to fight for something that we believed in. And you start right from the beginning, man, and we believed in no taxation without representation. We believed in our right to bear arms. We believed in our right to commerce. Right? And what did we do? Well, we started a revolution for these beliefs. And it was not easy. I mean, anybody nowadays, if you just spend two seconds getting into the Revolutionary War, man, you begin to understand that, man, this was a brutal campaign that cost thousands of lives and had devastating effects on so many people in so many ways, but they never quit, and they stuck to it. Right? And that launched this idea of America. Really, this belief that we can all live together regardless, right? That every man is created equal, and woman. And man, look how far it's carried us. Look at how far that the structure of those times, the structure of that morality, the structure of that faith in God and the faith in each other, man, that kept us together through really tough times. Look at when we almost ripped each other apart for capitalism versus slavery, and how divided we were at that time morally, or how morally ambiguous a certain group had become. That it was okay to own one another. Now, granted, slavery had been around since the beginning. You conquer another tribe, they become your slaves until they can integrate in, or you just never integrate in. But that's all. It's been around a long time. And it was this moment in our nation's history, the first time that the world had ever known that there was going to be a stand for this morality, that human beings shall not be owned by one another. That the belief in our rights, our right to be free, our right to the pursuit of happiness, that those are inalienable rights given to us by the Lord Almighty. And I think that's a pretty profound place to begin with what we can endure as Americans. Because when so many people are dying, during the Civil War, but yet we fought through it and we came back. And although it took another 100 years or so, we've gotten to a pretty remarkable point where we have a system in place that gives the greatest amount of fairness that the world has ever known. It gives the greatest opportunity. It gives the greatest opportunity for invention. It gives the greatest opportunity for economic advancement, for the greatest opportunity for an education, to educate yourself. And not only to educate yourself on the things that be able to feed your family or keep them, to enable their survival, but to give them opportunities to live in communities that support one another, that live in communities that are willing to sacrifice for one another, such as the time during World War II. In the Depression, in most cases. In the Depression, man, 34 million people were out of work. A lot of people suffered. Painful suffering. People went from having everything to having nothing overnight. And I know that's happening right now for many, many people. And I'm not downplaying your suffering, but what I am reminding you of you come from a legacy or a lineage where people can maintain a sense of morality, keep a positive attitude, and help one another to succeed in the darkest of hours because of their beliefs. And their beliefs in each other. You think about what we had to sacrifice over those times, over that generation. Those men and women rogering up during World War II, those men going overseas in combat. It wasn't like, this is going to be over in 6 months. No, these men said evil is present on the face of the earth. And it's present, it's wearing a uniform, multiple uniforms, and it's trying to change the existence of all humanity. And you know what? We're going to Roger up. And we're going to stick to some binding characteristics. Now, granted, we had to go and be vicious, and we had to go back to that primal state, that requirement, in order to confront true evil because of a certain belief system. And those young boys, Gianna's grandfather, maybe your grandfather, your great uncle, your brother, your uncle, maybe they went over. And it wasn't like they were going over for 6 months and then being like, oh, okay, woo is me, I got to get home, man. These people went over, and it was, when do you think you're coming home? I'm not expecting to. And you start to think about what it takes to make that type of sacrifice, not for yourself, but for a belief. It's simple to go out and to grab hold of something that makes you feel power, to grab hold of something that can intimidate, that grabs hold of something that can cause fear, to grab hold of something that can alter or shift or change another person's perception of their own safety and their willingness to survive. But where it becomes destructive is when people started grabbing hold of beliefs that force a shift in their core morality, a restructuring of their value systems. And that's a place that we cannot have. We have moved into a place and a time where the world is thriving. The world is inventing new things and accomplishing new tasks. And the fact that over the last 10 years, right, what is it? The median index of poverty has risen from $1 to $2 around the world. That's a 100% increase. The fact that there's a probability of new power systems and ideas that can restructure or shape the way the world functions in terms of carbon emissions and climate change. Where we're starting to understand the theories of relativity. We're starting to understand the universe. We're starting to contemplate going to other planets. Man, imagine if all of a sudden that came to a screeching halt. If we just up and decided, hey, every man for themselves. We all picked up arms and shredded our morality and sacrificed our beliefs in something bigger and better for all, for the selfishness of our own survival. Man, and it's the coronavirus. It's not even like it's something that's gonna absolutely devastate our way of life. Now, granted, don't get me wrong. I understand the heartache and the pain of those people that have lost somebody early in their lives. I can understand that severely. And don't think that I'm not scared shitless because of people close to me that potentially could get sick from this. But in the midst of that, man, I find the fact that I'm able to have these moments where I so easily drift back to a space and time where that moral ambiguity was propped up by a reality that was essentially designed to confront evil. And the only evil I face every day right now is the evil that I allow to shift my belief systems. And that my belief in the people around me that are good and healthy and loving and caring and willing to give things to other people, to stay in the fight, to instill faith in one another. That's a place, man, that is way more appealing, is way more real, is way more indicative of who I am, of who we are as Americans. A place where you begin to recognize that, you know what? The difference between you and the person in the house across the street or in the apartment above you or below you, the differences between you might only be the fact that you and them just aren't figuring out how to come to that centralized place where moral keeps belief strong. And so what I ask you to do for just a second is to suspend for one episode of the Tiger King and go out and put your feet in the grass and look up at the skies. Look around you at your neighborhood and the people that you see day in and day out and ask yourself, am I against them or am I with them? This is not an easy time for us at all. Not an easy time for me. I'm not going to lie to you, man. These moments, these spells of weakness or just my own reality of my existence and where I've come from and where I am now, man, that's the truth of it. I'm sure some guys out there or some people are having a much greater time. But the desire to want to get to a place where all order has broken down and your children are mules and you have to shoot your neighbor in the face for the last can of tuna or bag of top ramen, man. Is that what you really believe is the best place to be? No, it's not. I know that. So when that begins to happen to you, just take a moment for yourself. Take a moment to reflect. Take a moment to breathe. Take a moment to go out and work out. Take a moment to write, in your journal about the things that make life worth living for. Take a moment to pray. Just take a moment to pray. And even if you struggle with your faith, or even if you're struggling with your faith because of this, or maybe you don't have any faith, or maybe you're the most devout human being on the planet, man, just take a moment and pray. And pray for the strength that you can endure this, that your mind will not become victim to moral flexibility, to this primal instinct of survival of the fittest. And you'll stay rooted in your belief system that it's because of our collective efforts that we're going to overcome this. And we'll come back stronger, just like we have since the beginning of our country. And every great challenge that we felt, every great moment that has enabled us to straighten our spine, to dig deeper into our beliefs, to pray for the well-being of others. I want to thank Christ and I want to thank God for my inspiration and my ability to stay calm as much as I can. I want to thank her over there too. Without her, I couldn't do this at all, man. I thank my children and my family members for being patient. I want to say to all of them, man, I feel you, and I'm praying for you and what you're going through too, and my friends, all my friends that are struggling, keep it up, and all those that are continuing to try and have a positive impact, keep it doing. Go inspire others. Be the leaders that you are. And I want to thank everybody who gives me 5 seconds of their time to listen to what I can offer up, and I appreciate it. It makes me feel humble and proud. It makes me believe that what I'm doing is the right thing. Don't be afraid. Take a moment, pray, and go and tell how much you believe in other people. Go share that with them. Start propping each other up a little bit more and stay the course, because that's who we are. Thank you. God bless you.